welcome everyone to this hosted conversation. I mean, it's a conversation. Cory, you are generally the host, but we're all connected here. We all have some stuff in common, and we have something to celebrate, which is that the Bodhi Wave documentary is done. Yay, Jazeen! That was a terrible clap. It has been released to a select group of people who signed up to see it. And so far, we've had some really good feedback. People are loving it. And yeah, we're just excited to be able to, to have had it happen and to be here now talking about it. And yeah, welcome everyone.
Welcome. Well, thank you, Adrienne, for setting the stage for us here. First off, I don't want you to take away. I do want to be called the host. I don't want you to take away my role or anything informally. I agreed to do this upon very particular terms. So as long as I have that title, we should be good. But first off, just to reiterate, I'm very grateful to be here, to be doing this. So thanks y'all for thinking of me. And Jazeen, really, really excellent work. I've been able to watch the doc 2 times now. I essentially transcribed it, pen to paper, in preparation for this. So, that kind of brings me to, as Adrienne, you mentioned, this is a very interesting moment that we're in, contextually speaking. And this is we have a lot of things right now that are worth celebrating as it relates to Bodhi and Jazeen, your work here. Y'all have accumulated kind of a growing list of accolades here. I think we just hit a decade with Bodhi, right? That was this year. We're celebrating that milestone. So that's pretty wild. 3 consecutive years of being a certified B Corporation Best for the World, honoring the community category. I think you all just had a TripAdvisor's Traveler's Choice Award too. And Jazeen, this was a documentary that was 4 years in the making, right? As we originally started shooting in 2016. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, with all that in mind, it's important, as so many things can be or seem, unceremonious now with how the world is. This, should be celebrated. So kudos to everyone here. Very grateful to be, acknowledging this at a minimum. And we don't really have to celebrate. We at a minimum have to acknowledge this, I think, as a very interesting and positive moment. So to get us started, I have kind of a collection of notes and questions and thoughts as it very specifically relates to the film, the Bodhi Wave, and as well some of these overarching topics we wanted to chat about today: better business, more responsible consumption. But I'd love to start really diving into the earliest moments in the film. Jazeen, it was almost this kind of quick hit montage you went through. And this is interesting for me, as it was kind of my experience of getting connected with a community of business leaders and folks like those at Bodhi. But you go this quick hit. Your parents come back from this really impactful trip they went on to celebrate an anniversary. And all of a sudden, you've been in contact with Travis, reached out, and he offered you an internship. And then there's a documentary going on. You guys went through this fundraising campaign together. It seemed like it was like all that happened so fast. I'm like, yeah, it's normal. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But I'd be curious to hear more from your perspective to start us off. Like, what was that exchange like, going back and forth with Travis, and then folks, other Bodhi folks can weigh in. Because I just don't think that would always happen. Like, yeah, sure, let's shoot a documentary. Yeah, come on down. Let's spend 3 months here. So I'd be curious a little bit from your perspective how that exchange went.
Yeah, so if you kind of know, if you've ever spoken to Travis ever, you'll realize that things happen pretty quickly, or they just like, like at a rapid pace. So it was awesome for him to just like take a leap of faith on me as well, because I was kind of like fresh out of school and kind of figuring my own stuff out and like how I wanted to approach film and what topics I was interested in. But I was really interested in, yeah, how my parents had changed. And I was pretty like fresh in terms of like, I had never really heard of sustainable business or anything kind of like that. So even just talking to Travis initially, I was just like, oh, like this is something that I know nothing about and that I would really like to know more about. And then of course, you know, like a million emails came of like resources that I could look at from Travis. I don't know if he has them like at the ready, like he just like hits a button and like 50 emails go out with like PDFs and stuff. But yeah, like when I was editing the film, I kind of wanted, like you said, it's a quick montage, and that's what it felt like to me, is that it was that quick. And I'm just really thankful that they kind of just like took a chance for on me to represent their story accurately, or as best as I could anyways. So
I mean, I think how I got connected with Bodhi was sending a random email to Adrienne as I knew she was going to the B Corporation Champions Retreat. It was like 2 years ago. It was like, oh, I found Bodhi. Y'all are doing such cool things. Like, would you want to hang out, you know, at this B Corp retreat? And she's like, yeah, sure, no problem. I'm like, come on, let's do it. I'm like, oh, okay, these are nice people, very, very generous people, and open people. And so, Travis, I don't know if you want to wait. Maybe it's just too second nature to speak to it at all. But I guess in having the requests or the interest or the inquiry from Jazeen here, how is that received to, you know, have her come down? And I don't know exactly where the you know, let's shoot a documentary came up in the exchange. But what was it like to have someone have that interest in Bodhi in the first place?
Yeah, well, her parents, Stacy and Gary, are amazing people. And so kind of through that, when I got the inquiry from Jazeen, I was like, well, you know, the energy and the vibe that they put out had to be injected into her in some way, shape, or form, you know? So there's a critical part in the film where my wife makes fun of me where like, I'm like, roll the dice. It's really not me, you know, I'm more analytical and, you know, but with her, you know, it was kind of rolling the dice, but at the same time, you know, I knew, I felt at least it was a feeling that, you know, because of the energy of her parents and their good vibes and that something positive would come out of this. Again, just like she said, initially it was an internship, but I think she was really, not to put words in her mouth, really curious about why her parents were taking these actions when they got back from Bodhi, and she really wanted to kind of figure that out, right? So, yeah, we just kind of, you know, the way I work is just kind of putting things together and hoping for the best. There's no real magic. It's just kind of dumping in the ingredients and hoping for the best.
And Jazeen, then how, when you mentioned there at the near the end credits that you had, you know, countless other interviews and exchanges and footage that didn't get the opportunity to make it into the final cut. And so I'm interested to know or hear more about like how were you constructing this narrative around sustainable business, better business? To what, you know, extent was that solidified and in place, you know, getting there, or like did it kind of reveal itself more so to you as you spent this 3-month stint with the folks at Bodhi?
Yeah, so I mean, the making a documentary is so interesting because you kind of go in with this general idea of what you want out of it. And then you just throw spaghetti at a wall and hope that something sticks. And it was through the editing process, which is why it kind of just took so long to edit, was because you go through, I mean, I had probably about 50 hours of interview footage alone, and then probably about anywhere from 50 to 60 hours of just B-roll or follow footage, or, you know, we talked about so many things like plastics pollution, sort of like travel and tourism in general, and how we can do that better, or how, you know, people in Bodhi's positions can do that better. And some of it was kind of touched on the film. but it was just, it started out as this like massive thing. I think the first cut was like an hour and a half. And I like sent it to Bodhi, and Adrienne was like, I don't know what this is even about. And I was like, that's fair. I don't know what it's about either. And it just reminded me that it's about people, and it's about these people specifically. So that was when she brought that up, sort of my main shift from like all these big, huge world problems that, you could talk about in so many ways, shapes, and forms. And then I was just like, you know what, like this is about my specific experience. Let's go back. Let's try to show who these people are, and some of the work that they personally do, and then hopefully tie it into these bigger issues that we all kind of face. So yeah, that's why it took 4 years for me to get it together. Yeah.
Well, it seems like time well spent, as the 45, 50 minutes really you had this feeling of just kind of hanging out like at Bodhi, which was nice. And also to realize that you're just in your own living room, it's kind of sad at the same time, because you're longing to like be in that setting. But I think that's, that speaks to your work there for sure. And so from the Bodhi side, I guess like what's it like to have this story of Bodhi be told? And I think especially now in this context where, I mean, given this global pandemic, I'm sure it's felt like everything but business as usual for the last, I don't know, 5 months, 6 months, 2 years, whatever it is now. To have, this story be told of what business is like, what operations are like, the day-to-day is like at Bodhi, and then to be watching this, now so intensely, or sharing this with the community around Bodhi so intensely in this moment. I'm curious, and Travis, since we've already heard from you, maybe Adrienne or Pilar could weigh in to start. What's it like to have the story told, and maybe now with this current context?
Well, I can, like Maya said, I have a few things to say about it. But before like starting with the contest, for me it was more important. It's nostalgic, Jazeen. It's to see my that was 1 year old. I just had a baby. When you were asking about like how it all came about, it was such a blurry time because I was just being a mom, and trying, like when you have a baby, it's just that I was like, Jazeen was here, there, and then there was filming, and then she was gone. It was so too fast. But now that I see it 4 years ago, well, it brings me nostalgic to see my girl so young, but it also like brings me a lot of, when Jazeen was first like in here, I don't know, Jazeen, if you remember, I kept asking, so what is this going to be about? So what is this about? I was not clear. And when Travis said like, Jazeen is coming to do a film and about us. Why? And then in times like that as much as you try to stay positive, sometimes you have your days, how was it, the Corona coaster? The coaster. There's times where you feel in the middle of the tunnel and you can't see the light, like you get like covered by fears. What is gonna happen? Is this gonna continue? Is this apocalyptic or something? It reminds me that we have a purpose, and that we've been faithful to the purpose as much as we can, because we're also humans. So seeing this documentary brings me a lot of hope, because we can continue working in our purpose. So that's one thing that came about really positive. And yeah, the other one is like, look, she was 1 year old.
And she's a big girl.
Yeah, and many parts remind me of things like the shoe obsession is gone and things like that. So no, anyways, altogether things have changed externally, but it was really nice to see like even in we have been through the most challenging times or anything, that it's nice to have, we still have purpose in these difficult times. That's it.
Yeah, I would add on that I agree with everything, and that was a cool perspective, Billy. It has made me be really like, oh, I want to have people back. Like this has been in its weird way, like restful and nice, but I do think that, and we found other ways too to like fulfill our purpose and our mission, I would say, and that has been good and interesting. But I mean, we built this business and we designed this business to basically to what to do exactly what you show in the film. So I think that we're all excited to get back, and it is a weird year. Like we're celebrating 10 years. It's not going quite how we thought, but anyways, such is life, but it was really cool that this documentary, I think this documentary coming out will have been a high of this year for sure. I know that just in the last couple weeks I felt really excited, to have people see it, to actually be able to show people, because I just think you did a really great job, Jazeen, of capturing us in a moment in time. But it is, there's something about it that like we're in that way, there's certain elements of it that are fairly timeless, I would say. So.
And so, Jazeen, with this being something of like, I guess the story or trajectory of your discovery of like a more sustainable business community, I'm interested to know, what maybe leaving that significant time spent at Bodhi, and as well spending so much time putting together this film. What does it have you expect or think about business generally as you've kind of gone back into what is your own life in Toronto,
Totally.
right, where you're based?
Yeah, exactly. It actually just made me take a really critical look at the film industry in general, and just how much waste it actually creates. I mean, you think about movies, you think about movie stars, you think about the show, but when you're on a production, when you're on a set, you're creating an insane amount of waste if you don't have things in place at the beginning to alleviate some of that waste. So it actually took just seeing how Bodhi ran their business, and how when you create a business in the beginning, if you have these checks and balances in place, if you have these things in place to make it sustainable, then it's not hard. And I'm like, why isn't the film industry this way? Well, it's because it was started, back basically in 1920s Hollywood, and nobody was thinking about that at the time. But it made me take a hard look at my industry, and of course also my life, and just how much I consume, and how much we all consume, and how that will never stop. And it's just about making choices. It's nice to know that you can actually have a bit of control. I mean, to some degree, I do believe that big industry and government, they have to kind of step up to start making these like huge shifts. But I do believe that if you want to make a difference, if you want to feel like you're doing a positive thing, then like Pilar says in the film, just start small, don't drink out of a straw. So that's something that I took away from the whole experience. So just like, these are just normal people, and they're just like doing what they can, right? And it's like, we're all just normal people. Let's just well, I mean, normal-ish, as normal as one maybe could try to be. But you know what I mean? They're not like, it's just about normal people making small changes to make the world slightly better.
I like that. And I guess I'll turn it then to the Bodhi crew here. Where do you think businesses can start to make more sustainable choices, or to make less of an impact, or maybe make more of a positive impact on the communities in which they're a part of? I know there's so much that we start to touch on in the film, but I'd love to hear more from y'all right now as to, is it as easy to set up some checks and balances and work towards that? Or is there maybe more, as you think, or initial steps that other businesses could take? to be a bit more sustainable or and less impactful?
I can tell you something to say.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're doing this.
I'm doing what? You guys can't see it. I guess I'm doing something.
Ya, en las escaleras no.
Well, I think, and this is a little bit biased, but I think the tools that B Lab provides businesses through the B Impact Assessment is a great place to start. It's a free tool that allows you to start looking at your business from a more holistic standpoint. But even before then, I think you have to question the very purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, right? And what your purpose is. And from there, you can start to incorporate the values into the business. In tourism specifically, I think it's extremely important that the history of your community and understand where that community wants to go. Mm-hmm. And do you want to be part of that? Some communities might not really care about being sustainable or trying to be, less impactful. There are communities in Costa Rica that prefer to have, the typical Southern California tourism model in place. And so, for example, I would never want to have Bodhi set up there because it's just a complete, what we call here choque, a crash between the purpose of Bodhi and what that community wants. And I think that Bodhi has aligned well with what I believe at least the community wants from the time that I've spent here, 15 years. And so I think you have to align a few things. First and foremost, the why, your purpose. Does that align with the community that you're in? And then you got to find some tools to help you drive that purpose a little bit deeper in a more efficient way.
And I would add on just to say that, I think that there's these cool things on YouTube right now that are like, I think made by Netflix called Little Explained. They're like mini documentaries. They're 20 minutes long. And I watched one the other day on the stock market, because I was like, I'm going to take a topic that I have zero interest in really and watch that, because that's where you do the learning sometimes. But so it was talking about business, in kind of the way that I learned about it, which would have been like in the late 90s and early 2000s, which was that business exists to make money for its shareholders. And that, was argued by that one dude. I'm not going to remember his name right now, but
Milton Friedman.
Friedman. I think it was Friedman, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it threw everything on its head about what business had been before, because it was kind of understood before then that business was, existed for its workers, for its owners, for its community, for the environment. But then he kind of came in and was like, no, actually, and only like it should just make money for the people that are, have invested in it. And I think that that's such a short-sighted look, but I think that we went off track as, a community of business leaders. We went really off track because that is where like lack of sustainability or unsustainability comes in, because it's not looking at the whole thing. We don't look at like the fact that if our workers aren't happy, is this going to last? If we destroy the community, is this going to last? It's a very short-sighted look at business. So I do think it's important that you take your values as a person, like Travis was saying, and you put them into the business. And I sincerely believe that you can use any business for anything that you want, really, that is positive. And like, I think it's really cool, Jazeen, that you went home, and I didn't actually know this, that you went home and started looking at the film industry, Like, someone might not have seen those links. Like, you went and filmed a documentary in Costa Rica about a surf and yoga camp, and then you went home and now you're interested in the, the film industry's like waste. But there are ways that these can all go together, It's just about taking a deeper look at yourself and like the impact that you can have as a person or a business.
Definitely. And I think what seems to have come across to me quite a bit just in my exchanges with y'all over the last year or so, and as well throughout the film, is that it's not necessarily, I mean, I don't know, I don't mean to make some assumptions, but I don't know if y'all would be running a business if it wasn't one that was exactly like Bodhi. And I think that there's I mean, that's,
We don't know.
I don't know. Well, y'all aren't, taking on business just for the sake of business, right? It's like you mentioned that the business's role in a community. It seems to be that there's different approaches to it to make the community mold to the business that exists there, or the other way around. In what it really seems to be what y'all have done. And Travis mentioned in the film, that there is no CSR, corporate social responsibility without the understanding of the community, historically, or where it wants to go. And then as well, Pilar, I think one of my favorite quotes from the film was you talking about business being a service to others, creating a business to create something good in the community. Like that is the role from the very beginning, a business, really as a service. And so I'd love for y'all to go maybe a bit deeper, if you wouldn't mind, into how Bodhi has immersed itself, or so, entwined itself with the community that it exists in, to be able to anticipate those needs, those desires of the community, or truly be both a business and a really beneficial community member. And Pilar, with that quote striking me, I'd love if you might be able to begin for us there.
Well, I glad you like it. Thank you. No, and one thing that I wanted to say that I actually wanted to mention on the question, and it also fits in here. It's and you were asking before that what should we recommend for people who want to do good in this world, and even I think there's so many tools in every area that you go, and information is so accessible at this moment, and connecting is really easy. I think the hardest part of the journey is the consistency, the dedication, and the 3 Ds. Remember, Justine? Consistency, determination, and dedication. I mean, I feel it's really easy to start, but to stick with it. One of the things I feel that I have seen, for example, in the community is sometimes when I've been here 11 years, and there's many good intentions and good efforts coming, and then leaving as soon as walking out the door, just in the moment that you should stay, when things get rough, when things get difficult, because after hitting that first big hill, and notice I'm saying first because there's so many, then maybe you will go downhill just for a break because you're about to go uphill as good. It's like the eco challenge. And so having said that, I think if we really want to contribute somehow to any community in the world, like this community, any community in the world, dedication, devotion, and consistency, it's key. It's key, like for example, to stick with your service, and always go back to, this was told by a friend one time at dinner, and always going back to the purpose, and remember you're trying to do something not only for yourself, but you're providing a service to others, and just to stay there. I think that's the best way you can integrate with the community, and the other part that I think we're not taught enough, and we should be taught about this ever since kids. Is and one of the things of part of the yoga philosophy, maybe what it's all about. We live in a rush, even as we moved here, the three of us. You think you move into a rural community and you adopt the pace of the community, but it's really easy to come with the bad habits of a city, just implement them here. We lived in a rush, and I actually feel that these weird times we're at, has taught us that maybe we need to slow down and be more present and start living in a rush, because then we develop time for observation and see what is it that people need, and to listen more. What is it and how is it from there that we can contribute constantly? Because maybe we say it's not only about listening to the needs of the community when you first got here, it's about noticing the changes and adapt to the changes. That's it. That's all I have to say.
We have some interesting background noise coming from a neighbor's child. Sounds like a monocongo going.
There's also construction that just started like casually on a Sunday afternoon.
And of course we have
jumping.
So talking about the community experience, this is it right here.
I'm not jumping, I'm doing roundoff.
You're doing roundoffs. Well, you should go into the house to do the roundoffs, please.
There's more space.
You're right, there is, but not right now. Anyways, I'd just like to add to what Pili said, that the how each of us are actively involved in community organizations. Mm-hmm. And so we're continuously listening, right? And I think that if you listen enough to community members, you can start to understand better what the community wants, you know? It's real easy for us to be like, oh, this is what Bodhi wants for the community. We want the community to be eco-friendly, drive a blue-green economy agenda. But, you know, is that what we're hearing from our community members, you know? And so there's this point where, you know, what we want, what the community wants has to align in some way, shape, or form. And if it doesn't align, that's okay, but we continuously work together. But you got to do a lot of listening, you know, and listening takes time. And I think that more business owners should invest time and energy in becoming more active in community-based organizations, whether that's your local water authority, your local community development association, your education committee, whatever it is, get involved so you can start to understand things from a more holistic perspective. Round off number 10.
And so I'm wondering as well, and Adrienne, you mentioned this at one point in the film, in that the relationship that you have with guests who come and visit Bodhi, is that there's something in the openness that they have, you know, as they're out of their kind of normal environment, perhaps, you know, they're on a vacation, they're traveling, they're in a beautiful location. There's an openness in which you feel like there's an opportunity to connect. I'm wondering more as to how, because it seems like in everything that y'all are describing here is your own approach to business, and as well being an attentive and engaged member of the community. That's something that you're attempting to as well, I guess, instill, maybe, I don't know if that's the right word, but instill in guests, or as well kind of communicate or bring forward in their experience while they're here. I'm wondering, is that explicitly, you know, brought into the guest experience? Are you looking to, you know, share that with them, want them to, you know, kind of take that pause and be better listeners themselves?
There is a lot of Bodhi. Like, I would say that we had our values, like the base of what we believed and stuff, sort of aligned, like between the co-founders and people who have worked here, which has been cool. There's been a lot at Bodhi, though, that I would say has sort of developed naturally. We didn't necessarily plan on happening, and we just noticed, and we were observant about the experience as it, like, systemically would transpire, you know. And over the course of many years, we started realizing things that, like, we weren't even trying to do, and maybe that, and they were positive things. Like, you know, I think by the time, I think Jazeen's parents came for the first time in 2015. So that was really our very first year of having the surf and yoga camps as they are today, still, more or less. So I wouldn't say that we were super practiced in that specific, like, you know, merging of all the things. But, like, I know, for example, that they went home and they had, you know, made some very concrete behavior changes. That wasn't, I don't think at that moment, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that was something at that time we were trying to do. But I do think that we were being authentic to ourselves and our beliefs, and we were just being, like, sharing that with our guests. And, like, over the years, I think what we have realized, a number of things, and we're still realizing things, like, this has been a huge, obviously, learning opportunity for us too, about how we can be better and do better by our community, by our guests. And that's really what we are trying to do, is just, like, how can we maximize, like, positive output here? So it is being observant too. But in this specific instance, yeah, we noticed, I noticed, I know individually, that, like, wow, guests that come down here, they're so chill. And then, like, it was funny because we'd, like, maybe I'd become LinkedIn friends with them later or something, or Facebook, and I'd be like, wow, they are unrecognizable to me in, like, photos. Like, a different look, you know? And so I was like, I think we're getting like this really cool and like very mellow version of people as they come on vacation. And then we would talk about this, you know, and we'd be like, what an opportunity for us, like what a benefit, like what a cool thing that we get to be a part of someone's vacation experience. Like I never had thought about that really, but like I know when I'm on vacation, I'm a lot more chill than I am in my normal life too, you know? And that's also because my normal life is when people are having vacations. So I've had to kind of like, you know, pair that a little bit, but yes. And then we were thinking, yeah, and they're so open and like they seem so interested in what we're talking about. And so like, we're like, wow, this could really be not just this moment in time that they share and we're trying to just like give them the most fun and, you know, whatever, push them into waves or help them get into that, you know, headstand they've been trying to get into to get the photo, and then that's it, you know? Like, we have a bigger opportunity that we could capitalize on if we organize ourselves properly to actually provide some resources after people left. You know, like I think the motivation will be there. The motivation will be there for them. There is like this catalyst, which is this experience, and it's super short. You know, they end up being with us for 6 nights. But if we, you know, capitalize on this, we can actually potentially have a bigger and more long-term positive impact. That is to say that they, as people, go on and, you know, do their thing. And so it was like this domino effect idea that we had. And, but I wouldn't say we planned it. We didn't like sit down like 10 years ago and be like, we have this vision. We've just kind of like, we have been rolling with the punches and pivoting.
I'll disagree with that. Since
Okay.
that the name Bodhi from the get-go had meaning. So the purpose was always there, but I agree with Adrienne in the sense that we didn't study, you know, or send ourselves to any school to look at, okay, what are we going to do pre-trip? What are we going to do on site? What are we going to do post-visit? That started to come after we started to see the change. But for me personally, it was always about figuring out how to inject into my surf lessons some type of marine education, something that would get people to start thinking. Because teaching people how to stand up on a board is kind of easy. Getting them to change their behaviors once they go back home is the tough work. So it was always embedded in the name of the company, Awakening, Enlightenment, you know, Bodhi being a Sanskrit word from India. And I got my daughter playing with my toes right now. You guys can't see that.
We're missing out.
This is hectic.
Missing out.
Leave it out. Sorry.
With all that being said, it like wonderful to hear from y'all's perspective. I think to turn it to Jazeen a little bit, I'm interested, like what are, if anything, like what are maybe some of your desires or hopes for viewers of the Bodhi Wave documentary? I think as it relates to these topics of more responsible consumption and the practices in running a business in which Bodhi abides by.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that it just shows people that there is another way to doing these things, to running a business. I kind of like sort of related, but not really. I kind of wanted to jump back to what you guys were saying about if you had a plan or whatever. I think part of it is you live in a different place, and it's quite a special place. And I'm sure you guys recognize that. That's probably why you live there. But when people from the city come, like when I come, I see the way that you guys live, and I'm like, there's another option. Like I don't have to live in an apartment building, and I don't have to be surrounded by concrete, and I don't have to blah, 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 blah. And it's kind of like what Pilar was saying about people come from cities, and then you see that there's another way of living. I kind of also wanted to show that in the documentary, that like, hey guys, like you can slow down, you can move to a more rural place, you can make these changes in your lives that, you know, will, I don't know if they'll, well, obviously if you would do it, they would benefit you, but you know what I'm saying. And yeah, just my hope for the film is that it just shows people that there's just different options of lifestyle. And, you know, it doesn't always have to be about consuming, and it doesn't always have to be about more and I and me. It could be about us, you know. So I just hope it brings a little bit more connection to people's lives. And I hope that, you know, people think about their own consumption habits and sustainable business and all of these other great things that were talked about in the film. And I also kind of wanted to show people that there's like some really incredible places on this planet, and if we don't do something, they're all going to be gone. Like, imagine watching this documentary like 50 years from now, if it survives 50 years from now or 100 years from now, and it's gone. Like, imagine the whale's tail gone, and you can't surf there anymore, you can't go visit. That's, there's these incredible places, and we shouldn't take them for granted. We should really think about how we can conserve them. So yeah,
I have one thing about cities. I do believe because this place is amazing. It's wonderful. I feel lucky and blessed to be able to live here. I do know people that live very sustainable, probably more than us and everything, and very consciously about the way they live in cities. And
of course, yeah.
And I wanna emphasize that I think that the change has. I think I said it in the documentary. I will have to say it again, or someone said the change. Whatever change we need to make a more positive outcome of all this, has to come from inside and has to stay and remain inside. As we were talking about building a company that is service for others. This is just the shifting or believing that working is for money, as instead of working is a service that we provide to humanity, right? And that change, once we change it inside, we change it outside. Doesn't matter where we are. We can be anywhere and we change it. And it gives so much meaning and purpose to us that it develops a different environment, whether we're in the city or in the jungle, in a beautiful place, or we might not be in a beautiful place right now. But I think at the end, and when Adrian was talking about the guests and everything, I feel one of the things I also feel blessed about is not the three of us that we create something that the guests live happy. No, it's the fact that we're connecting, and it's the fact that we have we're all connecting. It's like I always said in the yoga class. It's so nice when we drop the masks, and the drop my mask, and here I am. This is just me with my flaws, with this, with that. Sometimes I'm good, sometimes I'm bad, sometimes I can be really annoying. I can be an angel, and we drop that mask and we connect as people. So yes, the environment here is super cool. Surfing is super cool. Yoga can relax you and everything, but it is for me more than anything the connection. And to go in the middle between what Travis was saying and Brian said, there was some planning and structure of what we saw Bodhi to be. Especially that was Travis. There was a lot of idea or where we're heading. But at the end, the energy, the heart of Bodhi is built by the experiences we have had, the journey itself. So, yes, my point was just that I have nothing against cities.
I think I wasn't explaining myself well. I basically want people to get the experience that they would have with you guys, but being able to take that anywhere.
Yes, exactly.
Through the film, that's kind of what that's what I meant to say, but said it very poorly.
No.
But what was I going to say? But there was something that didn't make it into the film, and that was Pilar's. Pilar talked about this trip that she took to Greece. Was it Crete? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she said something really great. She went to her yoga teacher one day, and she was just like, "Oh, I just want to stay here. It's so perfect here. How can I find this feeling here or anywhere else? How can I find it anywhere else?" And her yoga teacher was just like, "No, the whole point is that you take it with you. It doesn't matter where you are." And I think that's something that also really stuck with me during the making of the film, was oh yeah, I'm making this documentary, but it doesn't have to stop there. I could just continue this feeling, when I go back home.
Yeah, I think like what Pilar said, it's about connection. Like it's connecting with people, it's connecting with your environment, it's connecting with a meaning or a purpose that's greater than yourself. And I think that's it here, that if people can get a small taste of that, they can take that home with them. Just maybe the desire to find that, you know, to find that connection if they don't have it already. And if they do have it, to maybe just strengthen it, you know.
Definitely. I think this brings me to kind of this is very self-interested topic, a curiosity of mine recently. So there was Bodhi, all being a member of the certified B Corporation community. I'm sure you've seen it recently where there's in the Stanford Social Innovation Review, an article on the B Corp movement going big to be able to bring in more large multinational corporations into the fold of the B Corporation movement. And so I'm contrasting that. So like everything that I hear there sometimes kind of feels like that sort of level of scale I feel an aversion to personally. And so I'm wondering, with everything that y'all are speaking to here and the experience that you create with guests, the level of depth and connection that you have, especially now in this moment where, you know, that we're in the middle of this pandemic, it's put a bit of the travel industry on hold. Can that sort of depth and connection be recreated? And Travis, even in the film, you say, you know, there's something of Bodhi that you would want to be a model for others. Does that mean, you know, and I kind of wonder, I'm like, what does that hold for kind of the future look of Bodhi and as well the future of the travel industry? Like, can that depth of experience be recreated at like a larger scale, I guess? And very open-ended question, but I'd be curious to hear if any of y'all have thoughts on that.
Oh, Cory, man, this is a good one. Yeah, when Danone became the B Corp certified, I was blown away, you know, just because the sheer scale. And just like anything, if it grows too quickly, you're going to lose the ability, I think, to go deep. And so I think B Lab and the B Corp movement is at a very interesting moment in its life. And if it's not careful, we will end up potentially becoming an organization or part of a movement that could be labeled as greenwashing, you know, and those are big words that I'm saying. And where I'm going with that is that it's great that the movement is growing, no doubt, but we do have to make sure that we're doing it at steps that are allowing us to go deep. So when we go for a Fortune 500 company, how deep can we really go, right? And making sure that all the systems and process are in place so that it stays meaningful to be B Corp certified, right? And with respect to the us being a model, we had two lovely interns way back in the day, Destin and Aaron. And Aaron and Destin said something that stuck with me forever. And it was like, what you guys are creating is somewhat of a model, right? And when someone says a model, then they say, oh, well, then a model should scale. But what I was trying to say is that, and this goes off of what they were saying, is that we want businesses to spin in control, not out of control. And so us being an example is really just allowing others to say, hey, what is Bodhi doing? And hopefully we can continue to share what we're doing. And then that business will do it better than us. And then we'll learn from them and we'll do it better than them. And it's like this very beautiful competition, so to speak, but to be a force for good, right? As opposed to looking at some of the competition in Costa Rica and saying, how can we smash them out of the picture? You know, no, like how can we all rise up and become better businesses? At the end of the day, it's going to benefit all of us, you know, so looking for those type of opportunities. And we're getting there. We're getting there, but we haven't focused our time and energy in terms of like going to tourism conferences or bringing the tourism or surf and yoga camps together in Costa Rica and having a conversation. It would be interesting to do something like that, maybe in, you know, the later half of 2020 or 2021.
Uh-oh. This is how it starts, everyone. This is an idea now that we're going to be pursuing. Just watch. I
Heard
just
it here
want to
first.
add run to the bigger companies.
You started it, Cory.
All right, I'll be there. I'll be there.
Sorry, jeez, what question?
We thought we were friends.
No, but I was gonna say, like, this is a super based on nothing, just highly optimistic way of thinking. But if you would have told me at the beginning of this year the globe could, for all intents and purposes, shut down, I would be like, no, there's nothing in my lifetime that I can see. Never mind this year. I do think anything is possible, and like looking at systems, I mean, this year, these past couple of years have shown me that anything is really possible. I think getting enough people on board, and like drinking the Kool-Aid is important. I think I actually say that in the film. But like, this is why I think this film and stuff like this is so important. It's just raising awareness for what is possible, people could put things together. Like, we can go really bad one way or we can go really good one way, but like what we choose to do as individuals, there's going to be like some collective like momentum there that's taking us one way or the other. So we get to choose what that is.
Yeah, I know that you guys didn't see this, but there was, one of the questions that I asked the interviewees was like, oh, what kind of challenges do you see for Bodhi? And a lot of them were just like what they have is so great, but the scale is something that, like, they were always just like, we just want to see it bigger. Like, we just want this mentality to be bigger. But it's like, how do you do that in a system that's not yet based on certain qualities or characteristics, if I'm going to put it like really mildly and not get really weird and socialist about it. But it would be really tricky to take something like Bodhi and scale it to a global thing. And it's also dependent on the three of you. I mean, are we going to like clone you? Like what?
No.
And I also don't think that I know you guys are small, and I think that there's the motto of, small is beautiful. And I think it is. I think we maybe need more smaller things that are of a similar mindset, and that's kind of how change could happen as I see it within the system that we have right now.
Yeah. Well, and if our purpose is to awaken, so to speak, or get people to start asking the why a little bit more, then we are scaling, right? We're scaling through our consumers or our guests, right? And so our model per se is not like we're going to end up having 200, 300, or 1,000 guests per week, or even per year. But the ripple effect is the way we see ourselves scaling. So our business model not scaling, but the mission, the purpose scales. And that's for sure.
And then just to circle back to, like, it's not like Bodhi has to be recreated everywhere and like the world would be better if everything was Bodhi. It's just that if everyone were to be more value driven, and if that were to be injected into business, and it could be a small business or a medium business, like in the world as we have it, every player is important, but there are just, I think, vacuums waiting to be filled right now with something of meaning, with something important, And I think we are moving away from this idea of just like money. Like, I don't know, of course money's important, I don't want to take away from that, but I do think that as we go forward, people want connection, they want meaning, they want, to be contributing positively, because that's what makes people feel good at the end of the day, So I think that there's just more of a general recognition of that.
Money's a tool.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I would certainly agree. It seems to be, as was mentioned in the film a few different times, is are different measurements of success for Bodhi as a business. Travis mentioned the triple bottom line as one, where the financial element of that is just one component, really. And it's not so much, knowing y'all, it's certainly not so much, how much can we extract from this business, as opposed to, how can we use those resources to achieve, what it is that we hope we can, or fulfill what seems to be the purpose that has evolved and continues to evolve at Bodhi. So it just seems to be a different coming back to the responsible consumption of both individuals and businesses. Are you taking more than you need, or are you taking what's necessary really, or essential? And so we're coming up almost on an hour here. I don't know how long folks want to hang out on Sunday and listen to all of us talk.
I asked that question at the beginning because I didn't know how long my two girls are gonna handle there.
Yeah, we're on the platform. They're in the house, but Clea came up to do a little performance, as everyone saw.
Very quiet.
Yeah. Now we're in quiet.
Suspiciously quiet.
That's scary.
Yeah. But Cody, if you don't mind, if you're about to shut us down.
No, I mean, I'm open for as long as y'all are, but
there's something I want to officially say, and it goes to Jazeen. The other day that I was watching the documentary, and I believe you don't know how thankful I am. We are with you. So I want to make it official. I think I have just sent it in email. That's not good enough. So I want to say how thankful, because I know all the effort you put on it, not only like the material effort, but the mental effort, the uphills 100 times, what is this going to be about? You have to figure it out. That's quite a challenge. So I wanna say that officially, so it goes on record. Very public, that thank you for doing this, and for having it coming out at this moment in time. It was kind of like part of like, okay, let's keep going. And I also want to add that it's the three of us sitting here, but that's in representation of everyone that makes Bodhi. We have so much support. So there's not people behind us, there's people in front of us, there's people who, that for me, Bodhi has been a tool to realize that something good, even if it's small, can only be done if many people put their hearts into it. And that is not only the three of us, that's our parents, who are our biggest fans. Your dad and my dad are the first ones to like things.
That's how it goes.
And
my mom.
And your mom, yeah, always. But that starts there, and all the support we have had from them, from all the families who actually, whether they believe in us or they didn't, but they didn't say anything.
Sure.
And then let's not even begin with all the people who have come to work here, all the local staff. We have an amazing women, empowered women that work so hard and with so much good spirit with us, and they're family to us, and the people like who comes and works at Bodhi, or Bodhi family. And I know, like, even they're watching or not, they know who they are. But so finally said that Bodhi is this because, and then the guests and the people who have visited us, and the people who have supported us, and the people from the community who has been with us, and everyone. So the question was asked about, like, what is it, like, how can someone do that? It's like, you realize how much people come together when you want to put something that is somehow beneficial. Like, people will come together and make something beautiful. So that gives me faith that no matter what we're facing in the world, we can make beautiful things. And Jazeen, thank you.
Oh.
Wow.
That was our Oscar acceptance speech for this film.
Thank you. No, oh my God, thank you guys so much.
It has to go on record. I feel we haven't really said thank you.
Yeah, Jazeen, you crushed it. You crushed it. This is something I'm going to be watching like weekly, probably for a while, and especially now. Yeah, like, we're having a low moment, like maybe at a team meeting, we'll just put the documentary on and be like, see what we can do.
I don't like to hear reaction on the documentary, but anyways.
Oh my God. No, thank you so much. I know that it has been a long time waiting, and I know that I'm sure whenever I get an email from Travis being like, hey, is it finished yet? I would like freak out internally and be like, I'm not doing enough. And then I would like Yeah. But it's been like a total roller coaster. I'm sure you guys know making anything can be a roller coaster. Some days I'll look at it and I'll be like, this is trash. Like my life is over. And then other days I'm like, oh no, this is good. It has like merit, I think. And then, so it was basically just that for like 4 years. So I just want to say thank you so much for like believing in me, and Travis for not giving up on me. Yeah, never giving up. But I think it's an important message, and I think it's worth sharing. And I truly believe that. So thank you for allowing me to make this.
And thank you, Cory.
And thank you, Cory,
Hey.
for putting this on. Thanks all around.
I'm just here, just being a super fan over here.
Into our little
tribe.
Poor Cory.
Well, just to reiterate Pilar's sentiment, I think my mom's on this live stream. So.
Hi, Mom.
No, but I just wanted to say, because I didn't, express this very well at the beginning. But Cory is, he helps us in a lot of ways. Cory's awesome. He has his own podcast, which you guys should check out. He is the voice. I would say the B Corp movement at the moment, kind of.
Whoa.
He has definitely interviewed. Yeah. Very
very important people with great messages.
How many have you conducted?
I think we're on like episode 110 or something.
Yeah, and they're all really great, and they all delve into really great topics and into stories. It's a storytelling mechanism, and as we can see, everyone has a story. But yeah, we love having you two in our network, and Cory does a lot of behind the scenes kind of web and marketing, development, design, etc. And so it's been really nice having you kind of on our team as well from afar, and we are excited for you to come and join us.
Cannot wait.
Echo Pilar's sentiments. Like this whole thing has just been a community adventure, whether that's within our community or the community that's formed, or the global community, the B Corp network. It's just, that's like one word that to me I think represents Bodhi very much. We are here, we have some puzzle pieces that we put together every once in a while, and that's fun for us. But ultimately, yeah, there's a lot more going on. And we're just happy to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Very grateful.
This environment thing, it's everything.
That's actually probably one of my my favorite line in this entire thing. And I'm like,
it can be summed up in three words.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
She said that every time she said that, like in the movie, I'm like, yes. I mean, pretty much that summarizes.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I don't know. Do we have closing thoughts, or Cory, are we good, or?
I think we've hit everything that we need. I built out an extensive checklist here. I think we hit our main points. But yeah, if there are any final thoughts, that's great. We can leave with those. If not, such a privilege. I'm very grateful to have retained that title throughout the full hour. I can withdraw it after this, but I held on to it for now. So thanks y'all so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
Happy rest of your Sunday.
Big hugs. Big hugs from afar. See you soon.